Hi, my name is Teresa Kovlek, and today we are going to be working on a reflection piece where we have the sky reflecting down into the water. And what we'll be painting on is a gesso board. The gesso board that I use comes from Michael's, is where I'm getting it. I'm sure you can find these online. So this is the Mona Lisa brand, and you can pick that up, like I said, at Michael's, and I think Hobby Lobby also carries it. So we'll be working on that. A lot of times you see me painting with my little paint trays where I actually have them marked at the bottom, and I have my colors marked on a sheet of paper, so that way I know exactly what colors I'm using. But we're not going to use these today. What we're going to be using are my paint trays here. These ones are just paint trays that I continuously add ink to it. So it might have had Twilight Purple once and then goes to a different type of purple. And that's okay. I don't care so much if it's amethyst or twilight. I do good on just kind of mixing up my colors. So these are my trays that I'm going to be using. If you have trays like the other ones that are all labeled, that's fine, use those. What I'm also going to be using is the 99% alcohol, and I have it in the little squeeze bottle. That way it makes it a little easier. I will be using a little bit of the blending solution made by Ranger. And then I'll also put the colors down below in the description box. So how I like to start my painting, at the beginning, we're going to be using the blending solution. The reason I use the blending solution in the beginning is it does help it stick to the board, helps the ink stick to the board or to the paper. So I usually use that in the beginning. And how I like to do my ink, my skies, is I like to just throw some ink on. And because I do want the sky coming down into the water, I'm going to be bringing the colors on both directions. So I'm going across the top and the bottom. And I'm going to add a little bit of regular alcohol to this. That's that 99%. And then what I like to do is just tip my board and kind of let my sky come to life. And I'll add different colors, some of the same colors that I used when I had first sprinkled it on, but I'll come back with them again, dripping a few of them on. And you just kind of got to get the feel of it, of what you like. I like my skies to be real flowy and moving. I know this wastes a little bit of the ink, but it does give you a really nice effect. So you can see it's kind of moving all over. It's still moving. It's not dry. I'm going to go ahead and put a little more blue in. And again, just tip it up and let it do its thing. And I just like to see where I like it, you know. When you see it how you want it, that's when you need to stop. Now, if you see it and you like it exactly like that, it's not going to stay exactly like that. What you'll have to do is let it have a little wiggle room. So I want to come out something close to what I would like and give it that wiggle room of moving. And I will take a dryer on it when I get about where I want to be. My high-tech tool here, a regular ordinary straw. I will say I like the straws at McDonald's. They have a nice straw there. So I'm going to leave it where the sky is reflecting here. If you get any little fuzzies, I happen to have kitty cats, so I always have to watch, not that my cats are trying to help me paint. And I still think I want some more blue in there. So I'm going to shake it here, and I'm going to shake it down here. Keep my board tipped. This is the 99% alcohol. It just has too much purple in it. I want some purple, but not a ton. And I'm liking those clouds already better. Bring it back a little. I kind of like that right there. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick little dry. That was a heat gun that I was using on the gesso boards. You can use the heat gun with no problem. I just want to create a few more big clouds in here and bring it back. Again, you just kind of got to see that moment that you like. Don't rush this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come in with a brush. So I keep my 99% alcohol in a little glass jar right there. Now let those clouds keep working, they're just fine. I got a little bit of alcohol on my brush. And I need my land formation. And I'm just taking my alcohol and just getting my inks wet. That way I can just dip in them as I need them. I'm gonna just loosely paint this in. You don't have to think about it too much. If you have maybe some pictures from traveling, pull out some pictures of the land formations that you've seen. I happen to live in Michigan, and I've taken some trips up to the UP and seen some really neat sights up there up by Picture Rocks. And if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a look. So we're just putting in a little color, a little bit of land. Here's our water reflecting from the sky. And if we want these clouds, which I would, like a little bit bigger, and then just do a few drops. Remember I said when they dry, sometimes they don't quite dry the way you want them. Like that a little bit better. I'm going to give that a quick little dry. Let it dry on its own a little bit. I'm just going to come in with the brush. I'm just making the land here. Maybe the land comes over a little. Usually on a painting like this, I'll spend quite a bit of time with, but I'm just trying to show you the basics here of learning how to do the reflection into the water. We'll probably put us a tree right about here. A lot of birch trees grow in Michigan. So you can paint whatever kind of tree grows in your area. So I'm not real concerned on the colors of the paint. I'm just kind of grabbing some. We're just doing a basic reflection here. So we have the colors up here reflecting down into here. If you can see, this nice little purple line is reflecting down here. I like it, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to add a tree here, so the clouds that I didn't finish off here will be okay because they'll have a tree coming up. I'm going to work on the shoreline just a little bit more. And the brushes that I use are made for acrylics. I've also used watercolor brushes. Those work well. Always make sure your brushes are clean after you have used them on the inks. If you forget to clean them, they will turn all stiff. But you should be able to soak them in a little bit of alcohol and pop back to life. So I am going to bring just a little bit of that purple in here, just like if the water was kind of running in. You had a little bit of water coming back or splashing in. And we're going to go ahead and put our tree in. We're going to go ahead and put our tree in. So to do your tree, I just take a Q-tip, I dip it into the alcohol, my little bowl there. Don't have too much on, but enough. I dab it off a little bit on the paper towel. Remember, most trees are not straight, so a little bit of curve on it. And some branches. We will put some little branches on also, but we want to just put our main branches on right now. This tree is kind of coming out of the ground here, and maybe he's got a couple little fronds. So if we want leaves on our tree and we're going to make it a birch tree, we want to put our leaves on first. If we are not going to do leaves, we don't have to worry about it, and we'll just go in with the black. But I think because it is springtime, we'll go ahead and put some leaves in. A great brush for this is your fan brush, so we'll use that. And we'll do a couple different colors. So I'll just dab that alcohol on, not too much ink, and we're gonna just lightly touch on it. Now remember, we have blue behind it, we have some purple behind it, so we definitely want to clean off our brush now and then, or we'll end up with mud. We don't want mud, at least not in the trees. So we're just dabbing a little color on there. And this little friend should have some leaves also. Again, make sure you clean off your brush when you're in between. It's very similar to painting with watercolors. It's a flow type art. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean off my brush and come in just with a little bit of alcohol, because there's enough color down and the alcohol makes the little bubbles, the little circles, and disperses it. So in turn, it's adding little shadows and shapes. We could maybe even add some more yellow right there. Okay, let's keep working on this area down here. We're going to let that just dry as we're going. And I'm going to add in some details now. So the shoreline is usually not perfect. So just kind of putting a little bit of browns in there. I'm going to add some cattails and just a little detailing work to make it come alive. Some grass. That line is quite thick, so we're going to make that more into a tree. I didn't mean to do that, but you know what? No big deal. Just like he's kind of growing on the side of the pond there. Maybe some more twigs with him so he's not all alone. Go ahead and finish off these cattails. So I am wiping off that excess ink on the side here. Make these our cattails, maybe some little tiny ones coming up. Even be some cattails by that tree. It's fine. However you want it. You don't want to put cattails in, you don't have to. I like them. They kind of add some character to it. Just like we got some rocks going in here. And all I'm doing is going back in. I had dipped my brush in a little alcohol. And I'm pulling out a little bit of that color. That way we're accenting it. Shading it in, darks and lights. Let's go ahead and put some grass with that, with those cattails. And just kind of swiping up. Not pressing real hard. Come back in, pick up a little bit of green. Coming over here, picking up a little bit of this orangish yellow. And you see why I use these trays now, because these ones I don't care about the colors getting mixed up so much. Don't get me wrong, I do try to keep a clean brush, but if I'm dipping from green to orange or yellow and just trying to pick up a little extra color, it doesn't bother me because these trays are separate from my other ones. So I kind of like that. In my trays that I do use, I'm sorry, didn't mean to do that there. My paint trays that I use are ceramic. You can pick them up online. You can pick them up at the Hobby Lobby. I like them better than the plastic. I think the ink stays in it better, where on the plastic ones, the ink seems like it wants to really crawl up the tray. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit of green into those leaves. I want to make sure I don't have too much alcohol or ink on my brush. And I'm just using a fan brush, going back in and just spotting some in. If I'm doing a fall time painting, I'll do more reds and browns. But because this is a springtime painting, I'm really not using the reds and browns in this. Okay, so now that I have those done, I'm still going to go back in, add a little more grass. Just going to use my fan brush here and just pull up. Make this an extra grassy area here. If you don't own a fan brush, I definitely recommend picking one up. Just kind of putting in some rocky pebble area. I think we got a few rocks. We'll still come in and add some grass to that, but right now we're going to go ahead and work on that tree. I like to flip mine upside down. I do take my black, and it is the Ranger's Pitch Black. I put it in a little bowl separate from any of my other inks. I always keep it separate. And I just kind of work it on the side. And when I do it, I just kind of spot in a few different areas. I don't start in one area and stay there. I move around the painting. If you ever see birch trees, they are not the same. There's a few different species. And you'll never see them with the paper or the bark perfect on them. I'm going to go ahead and turn this around. When you're painting, do it how it makes you feel comfortable. If you can do it better by just keeping it faced in front of you, then do it faced in front of you. But if you need to turn it sideways, do it. Nobody says you have to keep your painting straight while you're painting it. So I just add in, quite a few just lines and splotches. Then what you want to do is add in some small little branches. So I'm going to come off of this one here. I don't have enough ink on my brush, so I put more ink on. So when I'm adding my branches, I'm usually just adding it to where the black areas are, because if you look at the trees, they kind of come off these pieces. If you look up at some, if there's some birch trees in your neighborhood, otherwise glance at them online. You can see how they kind of grow. Also, birch trees tend to have a lot of dead twigs in them, so you don't necessarily have to put leaves on these. Turn that around and take a look at it. Also, I recommend stepping back and looking at your painting too. Sometimes we get so focused into an area, we forget to take a real look at it. So you can add as many twigs as you want or as little, or you don't have to add them at all, but think it helps the tree become more realistic, you know, even though it's not exactly like a birch tree. And you can even have some fun with it and maybe put like a little heart. Maybe just like a little heart on it. It's kind of cool. It's your painting, you can do what you want. If you want, you could even put your initials in there with your special somebody. So usually at the bottom, they're definitely darker, have more of the paper coming apart and just a little rougher looking. So it's okay to make it a little more textured. All right, so this is looking pretty good. We still need some more details in here. We're going to come back to our fan brush and we're just going to add a little bit of grass to the back. I want to make sure my brush doesn't have a lot of ink on it or a lot of alcohol because I don't want it to flow all over my painting. So I'm just kind of making a brushy area there. We don't want to do too much, but a little bit here and there is good. A little bit of grass coming up through the rocks. Even take a little bit of pink and add that in, just a little bit. Like your rocks are picking up a little reflection of that color. Then maybe we even want to add a few flowers. So if we want to add a few flowers, take and dip into our green for our stems. And we'll put them right, maybe like right here. Maybe we'll have another little patch of them right here. And how about a patch right about there? So this would be the bottom where the stems would be. And make this look more like a rock right here. And maybe we'll do one more little batch right here that's grown up from the rocks. Like I said, it's your painting. Do it however you would like. You don't want flowers? Don't add them. It's all good. Now, if you're not used to working with the inks, you might not want to keep them this close to your painting. So with the flowers, I just went into the alcohol, picked up a little of that pink. You can see a little goes a long ways. We'll get some bigger flowers in there, that's okay. It's like a little cluster. And now we're gonna clean off our brush. And it's clean with very little alcohol. I basically am just drying the alcohol off on the paper towel and dabbing back on the flowers. So if we want more grass, pick up a little green. Just make sure you don't have too much alcohol. Like I said, on a painting like this, you can literally just keep working on it and adding details. I don't think I'm going to add too much more with you guys on. Touch up the flowers a little bit more here. I'm just putting a little bit of alcohol on my brush. You might even want to make those flowers down there too. Just like a little bit of springtime is coming. Just to add a little bit of color. On our cattails, we can even add a little more of the branches in there, because cattails tend to have stringy branches coming up. Add a little bit of orange maybe. Just want a little bit of color. Just be careful that you don't put too much alcohol on your brush. If you put too much alcohol, it will ruin your painting. So just better to keep adding than having an accident. I'm just going in and wanting a little more brown in there. And we could even do a little bit of weeds coming up. Some grass coming up through the rocks here. I think we'll just add a couple of birds in and call it a painting. So you can do your birds a couple different ways. You can either do them with a brush, or you can do them with a marker. I do tip my painting, so I know how I want to put them in. I'm just going to go a V, so I'm going to bring it down and up. So I just got a couple of birds flying there. And I usually do 3 or 5. And I think I'll add a couple more. Maybe these ones are a little further ahead of the others. So it's up to you. If you only want a couple, just do a couple. Well, I hope that shows you how to put a reflection of the sky into the water. And hopefully you learned some new techniques from this painting. Slip a paper towel under there so you can see it without seeing all the mess. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed this painting, and again, my name is Teresa Kovlek, and happy painting to you.